Today we're working with a Medana 7 jewel. The watch itself is from 1945 to 1950. They didn't have very good model and caliber numbers, so I can only make a rough estimation. The name, the brand, is established in 1909 as a part of the Meyer and Strudeli, later Romer watch company. It was known for producing affordable, fashion-forward watches that mimic the styles of more expensive brands. Medana watches were particularly known for their distinctive case styling and Art Deco-inspired dials, which we can see here with the copper hands. The crown itself is worn away, and as is the back case, I'm hoping to electroplace that crown eventually. We can see that it's not winding or moving. Oh, there we go. We got the hands moving. Well, that's a start, but it doesn't wind, or if it does wind, it's all the way wound, and the second hand is not moving. So let's see if we can get this operational. First thing is we got to get these watch bands off, and these are not typical little retaining clips that most watch bands have. They are pretty solid, and the only way to get them off is not with a tool that I normally use, but with basically a pointed piece of metal, and it disengages on the side. You can kind of see the hole there that I haven't caught on to yet, so I'm going to keep working with my tool trying to figure it out. When I do finally figure it out, you'll see that I get the right tool and do the right process, but I go through a couple of measures of troubleshooting here before it finally dawns on me. I initially thought it was just corroded, so that's what the problem was, but a little bit closer and yep, there it is. After initially failing with the tweezers, I decided to actually get the right tool for the job, and boy oh boy does that work so much easier. Who would have thought it? Now, you can see that there is corrosion, so this has significantly got some age to it, and I'm a little worried about the insides, but I'm hopeful that it has little to no corrosion inside. This side actually gave me difficulties, and it took some persuasion and some persistence to actually get it to open up. And once I actually got it to pop with the amount of pressure and pushing on it, there it goes. Releases just fine. Alright, let's go ahead and get that back plate off and see what the condition is on the inside. Now, there's not a little lip that I can grab onto that normally is present in pop backs like this. So with this one, I initially tried just actually prying it off, and it doesn't work too well, as you can see. But I did realize that if I put enough pressure on the actual crease of it, it does pop right off, and that was just a little bit of persistence. And this is the back plate with the serial number on it, and you can see it's in pretty good shape. The back's not so great, but the inside, that's the good shape. And looking at the innards of the watch, it's actually pretty clean and doesn't look too bad. Let's see if the balance, it runs a little bit, or at least it moves. I don't see the other wheels moving, and it stops almost immediately, so that tells me that the second hand and everything else is not operational. So now we get to discover how I'm going to take it off. It looks like there's some screws missing, so I don't know if those are designed to be there to hold the movement in the watch case itself, or if it's designed for some other features, but they're not present, so I'm not going to stress it too much. We're going to see me fumbling around trying to figure out how to get the movement out of the watch case. I eventually realized that I need to take the crystal off and remove the hands, and it should, and it does, pop right out. But for right now, I'm just testing to see where the movement moves, where it's secured, if this outer ring pops off, and if that's what's retaining it in or not, and testing all the different parts and the mechanisms, trying to see before I start prying or unscrewing too much. I'm looking at the front of the watch, noticing that the front bezel does come off, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Same method that I used for the back case, just a little bit of pressure on the joint, and it does pop right off. A little bit of love, not too much, but just enough. And then from here, I already know the watch hands themselves move, so it's probably best if I get them aligned. Now the crystal itself is in pretty good shape. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit and maybe a little bit of buffing, but I'll probably keep that original. The dial itself looks pretty good. It's got some wear and tear on that 3, but I don't know what I can do about that. I'm not going to try to repaint it. Let me get these watch hands off, so I'm going to organize them to be in a line and remove them that way. Now that little jiggle there, the moving inside the case, tells me that the only thing holding it in place right now is the crown. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the crown with this small retaining screw here. I actually do it too much, which we'll see later. And a little bit of finagling, and it does eventually come out. Now, the way it came out scares me. I actually think I broke it. That's why I'm looking at the tip to see if that is supposed to be that way, or if it actually left some of the crown inside. So I'm going to inspect that a little bit more. It definitely needs a cleaning, I can tell that right away. But now the movement should just come right out of the case. Clean that off a little bit. I don't like to mix the dirt in with the movement. It's always scary, adds more work. And well, there it goes. Just came right out. Now about the case itself, it is dirty. It does need a cleaning, and it will get its attention, both in the ultrasonic machine and with some toothbrushes. So looking at the movement, there's a little bit of wear and tear. I'm looking for the dial retaining screws, and I don't see any, but they are there that I stupidly overlook. So I'm going to try a couple of different methods to get the dial off. Eventually I figure out that it is pressure locked in with some screws. So sit back and enjoy me fumble with this dial and try to figure it out. Now I get tired of trying to pry it off, so I'm going to start removing some parts. I want to get the balance off because I am moving things around a lot, and I don't want to hit the wheel any more than I have to with my fingers. So I'm going to remove the balance and the balance wheel and put that in a spot where it won't get broken or stretched out. I don't need that headache on top of everything else I'm dealing with trying to get this dial off. So that's what I'm going to be attempting right now. With the balance removed, I'm going to see if there's actually any tension under the mainspring. So I'm going to try to manipulate that pallet fork here, and it does have some bounce and have some spring. So I think that there is tension. I'm going to release that after I get the dial down, but it's not a lot of tension and very little movement. So I just want to make sure that before I take that pallet fork out, I have all the tension removed. That way it doesn't spin the wheels at an excessive speed unnecessarily. It could actually damage the innards. Still looking for how to take the dial off. I think I see it, but I'm not 100% sure because I haven't encountered this kind of dial retaining screws before where they're pressure locked in. So playing around a little bit more, and this is where I noticed that one screw is going all the way through. So I try to give it a little bit of force, a little bit of pressure, not wanting to break or bend the dial. And this is where I decide, you know what? Let me try to unscrew it. Let's see how that works. Yeah, I should probably pay attention more to what I'm doing. Success. Now it pops off. That stressed my patience a little bit, but it definitely goes to show that this hobby requires you to pay attention to the smaller details. Let's start disassembling dial side. So I take off the sprockets here, and the minute wheel here, it wants to come out, but it's not coming out yet. So I'll leave that. I'm going to take the pinion off first. I like to remove that and get it out of the way so it doesn't get damaged. It also allows the center wheel to be removed a little bit easier when I get to it. So here comes the pinion removal tool, which is a specialty tool for this, and it pops right out. That pinion there is pressure locked in, so it just gets pushed on real hard, and the pressure of it being pushed on holds it in place. And what's left is the center wheel. So, wait. Oh, what was... Okay, so remember when I said I released the screw too much? That is the crown. That's what holds the crown in the crown stem in place, and I'm trying to figure that out. I'm going to put it in some pretty weird spots, trying to manipulate it and see how it works in my brain before it finally clicks. So yeah, I like sharing my trials and tribulations with you all, so that you can see that this is a learning process, and I'm learning. So I know it needs to be screwed in. I can see the hole, and I know it needs to have a pass-through. So I'm looking at all of the available screws and trying to figure it out. I do eventually notice that, hey, it's curved a certain way, it should probably go along the outer edge. Watching it back now as I do this voiceover, I absolutely see why I'm not getting it. Like, I'm screaming to myself, it goes right there, silly. Boom. It goes right there, silly. So that's, you win some, you lose some, but we're all learning together. So what that happens is that screw that I place it on top of holds it in place, and as you unscrew it, it pushes it away from the dial plate, and when you screw it down, it pulls it through, and there's a little notch in that channel. That's what holds the crown stem in place. So now that I know that's there, I'll make sure to put it back when I'm ready for it. It's at this point I remember that I think the stem is still inside the body, so I'm going to try to test fit and see if it makes contact or actually does spin. And it does spin the gears, but they don't engage the mainspring barrel, so I'm still not 100% sure what is going on, but I am pretty confident that that stem is not broken. But it does leave me with a mystery that I'm going to have to figure out with disassembly. So I'm going to continue getting everything tore apart. It's at this point I need to take down the tension that I think is there, so I'll move the click out of the way and try to get the mainspring to wind, and there wasn't much tension there, so I don't think that there is any tension on the mainspring. So just verifying by moving the pallet fork, taking the stem and the crown out, and now we can get down to disassembly without worrying about the train of wheels being flung all over the place and under tension. As I take off the trainer wheel bridge, you see that the mainspring and the center wheel come off with it. Now, normally that's an indicator of old or dried up oil. In this case, the jewel on the mainspring is what was pressure locking the mainspring in, and then yes, old residue is what held the mainspring in, or the center wheel in. So after moving that, manipulating that a little bit, we can see that under the bridge, it looks pretty clean. It definitely needs to be cleaned. It's not corroded. It's got the Medana and 365, which, looking that up, it was a 1945 to 1950s model. So that's something, if we can get this operating. That seems to be an attachment to the bridge that will go on to the pallet fork and the escape wheel. So I'll have to add that on separately. You can see that the pallet fork has its own little notch there and its own little jewel. So I will find that out later on when I forget to take that off and then put it back on. This watch really had a lot of lessons for me to learn, and I greatly enjoyed each and every piece of it. As you can see, taking off the bridge exposed the entire trainer wheels plus the pallet fork, and this pallet fork is very unique. Normally it's looks like a Y. This one looks like a spatula with two little notches, so much easier to put back in one way without confusing which side is up and which side is down. So let's resume taking it apart. As you can see, one of these screws is broken. Right there, it just popped off. Now, I'm not 100% sure if there was a screw in there to begin with, or if there was just a broken head. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely looks like that post received some damage at some point in time. When I inspected it further under the microscope, I can't see any metal or pre-existing screw inside. So I'm just going to say that some point in time, it was there. I do try to figure out which screw it came off of, but I didn't find any. And then also the other screw there with the clipped head, I'll manually remove that later, but that's just a retaining screw to keep the movement inside the watch case itself. I don't actually use that right now. I will add one later as soon as I find a suitable match. Here I try to take off the Clockworks, the winding mechanism, and not realizing there's a screw right in the center of my face, I try to pry it like an idiot, and then hey, there's a screw. Then I try to pry it, and that works much better. But yeah, this is a very uniquely constructed watch that I haven't seen before, and I'm enjoying my lessons learned from it. So let's continue watching me fumble around and learn as we go. This is one thing I like to do is I like to put the balance back on the body of the watch, and I do this for cleaning purposes. So I know that the pinion on the end of the balance and impulse jewel and the balance itself won't be damaged by cleaning. And both of these need to be cleaned and remove of excess grease or just time, dirt. So I like to make sure that it is actually in the correct pivot hole, in the correct jewel, and I put the screw back on. And this is how I wash the body. I don't do it at an excessive speed, but I do it enough that it gets cleaned, and I watch cleaning station. So this tends to work out pretty well, and I've had good success with it. Much better than just putting the balance in the little basket I have here and wishing for the best. So yeah, I've had people ask why I put it back on when there's nothing else attached. That's why. Spin in the washing cycle. Nice and gentle, ammonia-based watch cleaner. Pretty straightforward. And then followed directly by the rinsing cycle, which is a ammonia-based rinsing liquid. The same speed, nothing too crazy. And then lastly, we'll go through a drying phase, and that one is just spinning air and just flinging it everywhere. It does make a mess sometimes, but that's why I have the lid on it. Now to give some attention to this dial. I don't want to remove any of the paint or indices or mess it up any further. The biggest problem is this little bit of wear right here on the 3. So this is just soap and water and a little bit of pressure and love. I do immediately see a lot of it breaking up, which is a great sign, but again, I don't want to take too much away. I have noticed that under the paint it's straight bare metal, so I'm gonna leave it pretty much as is. Hope for the best, I guess. Some of these watches you just can't really get them as mint as you'd like, but hey, it's still a beautiful watch, and it's not too noticeable, and it has a story. I'm sure there's a reason for it. Now this part is always interesting, trying to figure out where each train of wheels goes: center wheel, third wheel, fourth wheel, and the escape wheel. So it's a lot of trial and error for me. I try to remember, but I always forget. So you're going to see me try a different couple configurations and try to get everything working. I do fight with it a little bit, and eventually I get it. I have a little trick that I tend to use to feel it with my fingers as I slightly apply a little bit of pressure and move the wheels around a little bit. It works for me. I'm not 100% positive it's the best way. Here I am trying to figure out the best way to put the bridge on. I know it's supposed to fit a certain way, and as you can see, I'm confused how the escape wheel is going to get covered along with the fourth wheel. So I haven't yet realized that I need to unscrew that little attachment and piece it together that way, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So yeah, I'm just trying to get it all lined up, and here it is lined up, and as you can see, everything does move and run. I just couldn't get it on camera with the microscope and everything else, so I'll work on that in the future, trying to get it. But as you can see, it all moves pretty well. Let's go ahead and lubricate it up and get it restored. This is where I start to figure out that the pallet fork needs to go on a certain way, and in all other watches there's a pallet fork bridge that holds it in place so that it doesn't move, but this one doesn't seem to have one, or if it does, is attached to the bridge. So that's where I realized I needed to remove that little plate and get the gem or the jewel aligned with the top of the pallet fork pivot. Once I realized that, life got so much easier. I didn't show my 10 minutes of trying to finagle it without removing that because I just didn't think it was time well spent. Should have looked a little bit deeper and thought about it before I started tackling it, but here we are. We solved the problem and we learned something. So I will attach that plate and double check that the pallet fork moves without hindrance, and make sure that the wheels are stopped by the pallet fork. That's how the watch increments per seconds based off of the balance wheel. So it'll bounce back and forth. The impulse jewel will hit the pallet fork little trident there, and it'll bounce it back and forth, hitting the escape wheel, which hits the fourth wheel, third wheel, center wheel, so on and so forth. Now this wonderful little piece is what the keyless work engages to set time and wind the watch, wind the mainspring. And I'm trying to solve the puzzle of how it fits together, and I think I got it. But now I have to figure out how to get those three little cogs on it. And you can see there's different sizes for the posts, so it's just a matter of figuring out which one goes where, lubricating it, and putting it on there. I was having some difficulty doing it on the watch itself, so I thought I'd take it over here, get a little more room to work, make sure it's all aligned. And then what I try to do is I put a little bit of lubrication on the center post to kind of lock it in there just by the surface tension of the lubrication. And it works a little bit, but overall it's just trial and error trying to get it on there while staying aligned. So you get to see me fight with that for a little bit. I do eventually get it, and then you see I have to do it twice because I forgot to put the keyless works in in there. So yeah, right here is where I'm watching it back going, hey, you should probably put that other cog in there. But you know, I'm not gonna do that. No, I like to learn by errors, you know. It's the best way to go, I guess. So you get to watch me do it twice. So this right here is the click. It's what stops the mainspring ratchet wheel from going the other direction and allows it to keep pressure, so the mainspring inside will be continuously wound and put under pressure when you rotate the crown. And there is a spring that goes on the click, that one that just flew off, and what it does is it helps engage it and make sure that it doesn't continuously fly the wrong direction, and it kind of locks it in. I like to use pegwood as I install the springs because they do go flying. They are under pressure. That's why they have their own individual screws or support so that they don't fly all over the place. So yeah. Remember when I said that I put it on wrong or early? I'm realizing that now. So that's the keyless works, and it's one part of it that engages the stem, and it needs to go under that plate and engage those three wheels via the center one and then the other two. And I try to keep it together. Does not stay together. So trial and error. I'll get it in there. But yeah, here's the second attempt at putting everything together. Alright, so now I'm manipulating the stem and the crown and trying to make sure that everything spins as it should. Right now everything looks good. The pinion's engaging, the minute wheel, I can see the ratchets working. It is engaging the mainspring ratchet, so everything looks good. It's just, I'll be honest, it doesn't feel right, but I think it's just an old spring that needs to be replaced, mainspring. So I keep working on it. So right now, with a little bit of tension on the mainspring, the pallet fork should bounce back and forth. It'll jump from left and right with a little bit of a touch, and it kind of does, but not really. Like that should be a dynamic movement, and it's very much not. And I'm giving a little bit more tension on the mainspring to try to give it more pressure so that it'll pop. I'm making sure that everything's aligned, and it actually is engaging, and still not really. There's a small one. I'm thinking maybe it's misaligned, or it needs to be adjusted a little bit inside the jewel. So I'll keep working on it and trying to adjust it. I'm double checking that everything is aligned, is correct, and is in all the jewels that it should be. So right now it's less about getting it together and more about troubleshooting. So I'm going to continue on and lubricate everything, eliminate that possibility, making sure I got the correct gems or the correct jewels for the correct lubrication, and I'll put the balance on and everything else and try to bring this thing to life. There is actually a significant problem with this watch that I will talk about in a little bit, but I was able to find it over time. So right now we're just going to go through the process of finishing the lubrication and getting the balance and the dial side together. Those of you that are eagle-eyed, you'll notice two things right off the bat. One, my dog says hello with the dog hair. Two, I'm fighting with this, trying to put the screw back. What I didn't realize at the time is I'm trying to put the screw back over top of the jewel. It's never going to work. The hole is actually over the other part. So what that is a plate with two jewels, one on the top, one on the bottom. And it suspends the lubrication for the pallet fork, and I didn't realize that. And in my process of trying to use the Rodico to move everything around, there I realized it. So now I put it on correctly. Now I'm able to get the screw in, and look at that. It goes right in without any issues. Go figure. You put something on right, it tends to fit together. Here you can see the click in action, so how the spring engages with the click and stops it from allowing the mainspring ratchet wheel to go back the other direction. Now inside that, the mainspring has a lip that it should be catching and coils and uncoils as it is twisted. So what I'm doing here is trying to get the mainspring to do that, and it doesn't feel right. That's why I keep twisting and twisting, trying to get it to engage. It just doesn't feel like it's getting any tension at all. I could see the click bouncing, but I can't. Yeah, with the amount of turns I put on it, that thing should be jumping all over, and it's just not. So what it ended up being is the mainspring was bad. I needed to replace it, and that was a part I had to order. And once I actually got that in, put it in the mainspring housing, it came right to life. But at this point, I don't know that. So I continue on. I put the balance in, and I want to make sure that it actually rotates and works, and the balance and the pallet and everything align. I don't want the balance to be broken. So here I am testing it to make sure that it is engaging the pallet fork. And yeah, it looks like it wants to come alive with a little bit of air. Looks like it's bouncing quite well. I'm giving it a steady stream of air, trying to see if all of the wheels are turning and if it'll come to life. And yeah, everything looks good. The escape wheel turns, stops when I put the tweezers on it, but other than that, it wants to come to life. Everything is moving and acting as if it should. So I will go ahead and put the screw in and lock it down and try to give it some more winds to see if it will just spring to life. This is a manual wind watch. It's not an automatic, which means the movement of your hand doesn't charge it. You have to manually wind it. So there is an end point where the watch will stop trying to wind, and I provided enough turns that I should have hit that, and I didn't. So that's what leads me to believe eventually that the mainspring inside is broken and needs to be repaired or replaced. So, and that happens with these older watches. They just degrade. And that's what I'm pretty sure happened. So, yep, that is the conclusion I came to. You see me pointing to the mainspring. Now I gotta wait. I actually lost the footage of me putting the movement in the watch case, but there it is, fully alive. Mainspring replaced, dial side on, the hands are all on. Everything is running as it should. You see the second hand nice and strong. It is plus or minus 6 seconds per day, which isn't horrible. Gonna go ahead and put the case back on and make sure it locks in. I feel horrible that I lost some of the footage, but putting everything together once the mainspring was fixed absolutely fell into place. This is the watch band I chose to go with. It's pretty simple and basic. I prefer these styles. Clicks together like so. It looks good, and it feels comfortable. It's loose enough that it allows the watch to breathe. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, and if you guys want to see any particular watches, let me know. See you in the next video.